Hello everybody, I hope you're all well, and assuming I get this painting and the video finished in time, happy Easter holidays too. As ever, I want to thank everybody who's been engaging with my arty content, and it always means a lot, and it also helps drive me to produce more content that you find interesting and hopefully inspiring too. So in this episode, and because it's the most chocolatey time of the year, I'm going to attempt to paint one of these. You've most likely seen these knocking around supermarkets as of late, and if there's one force in the universe stopping me looking like a total Adonis, I'd probably pin the blame on the humble chocolate bunny. As with my previous pieces, I'm going to be attempting to paint in a hyper-realistic art style, using only oil paints. So, without further ado, let's see how we get on. So first things first, a trip to the supermarket to purchase some high-calorie props. Ah, there he is, the piece de resistance. £4.50 though, I'm glad I've got a nectar card. Let's get two, just in case. Now I've got my props and some lighting, I'm going to capture some photo reference to use for the painting. Yes, this is what I do in my spare time. Let's chuck a cream egg in, why not? This stage always involves a lot of trial and error, and I won't lie, the final composition is usually an accident. Looks like he's pooping mini eggs. Let's try a bit of a platform. No, I'm not eating it yet, but imperfections are a lot more visually interesting, so I'm going to tear the foil a bit and expose the chocolate underneath. I've got a Yorkie here, well, half of one, so I'm going to try adding some chunks and shavings to the composition. As with the bunny, I'm going to unwrap the cream egg and have some of the orange goo spilling out. Okay, I think I have something I'm happy with. Oh, where did the bunny go? Good job I bought a spare, eh? Time to get started. Studio and easel are set up and I'm ready to go. Today I'm going to be painting on superfine canvas. I'd like to give a shout out to Harris Moore Canvases near Birmingham for hand making this top quality painting surface, and for the tour of the workshop. I only wanted the best materials for this piece. And here's where I'm going to be sat while I work on this piece. He looks as excited as I am to get started, or maybe he's just happy he's not been eaten yet. I'll start by gridding out my canvas to accurately transfer my photo reference image. First thing I need to do is get this image sketched out in pencil. And here's the finished sketch. Time to dip into the art drawer to grab some burnt sienna oil paint. I'm going to coat the entire canvas in this colour to act as a base coat. As it's a large canvas and I have a lot to cover, I'm going to use walnut oil due to its slow drying properties. So on with the underpainting. The underpainting gives a foundation for the rest of the painting and is purely tonal, so I'll just be focusing on lights and darks. I continue to refine until I'm totally happy with the foundation that I have. Here's the finished underpainting. It's basic at this stage, but a solid groundwork to build on. I've roughed out a few basic shapes of dark to help create a foundation for how the lighting works, to give the bunny a strong, almost sculpted-like structure. With a mid-tone wash and the dark blocked in, I'm now going to use some white paint to rough out some of the lightest areas next. The following morning, I continued to block out the light areas with white paint, notably the cream egg and the background.
Et voila, the finished tonal underpainting. With the underpainting dry, I'm going to rub a thin glaze of transparent Italian yellow oil paint. This will give the base layer of the gold bunny some immediate depth. The bunny is going to be the focal point of this piece, so I want to get the structure of the foil just right. It's remarkably complex, so I'm going to take a bit of time planning out where all the folds and creases are going to go. The key to shiny surfaces, certainly 3D shapes, is contrast, so I'm going to continue to add some dark areas and shadows to give greater form. Importantly, getting the background tone in early will help me with lighting and tonal values later. Right, finally it's colour time. Well, more brown really, but I've mixed these warm and cool chocolatey tones to start with the bunny's ears. Normally I'd leave this kind of high detail to the end, but in this case I'm going to add some of the subtle imperfections in the surface texture of the chocolate to get some realism in there early. Putting the brown paints away for a sec, I'm going to block in the bunny's signature red bow, which will be the brightest colour in the painting. Next up are the mini eggs behind the bunny. These need to sit back so they don't fight for attention. As such, I've mixed these bright pastel tones. As well as more subtle colours, I'm also going to paint these with less detail than the main elements. This will help mimic camera depth of field and sit behind the bunny. I quickly added another transparent glaze of yellow over the bunny's foil to intensify the gold. Now to add some colour to the chocolate chunks and the wrapped sweetie. Given how close up we're viewing these chocolate chunks, it's almost like painting rocks. As the wrapped sweetie sits right at the front of the image, I'm going to use far more contrasty and intense colours to paint it with. I've blocked in a purple shadow, which mimics the effect of bounced light reflecting off the purple foil and onto the surface underneath. And to complete the background, I'm now painting in the shiny wrapped foil eggs. Can you guess what these colours have been mixed for? Yes, it's for the cream egg, of course, and all its bright orange goo, or whatever the technical term is. I'm roughing in some intense specular highlights to help describe the glossy surface. Once the cream egg has a colour layer, the whole painting will have its base coat, so we can get an early feel of how this is shaping up. And here it is so far, looking very solid and the colours are in good harmony. However, to really elevate this piece, I'll now need to start on the detail layer, as well as general balancing. I'll need to push back and blur the background eggs some more, as well as intensify the reflections on the shiny purple foil wrapper. I need to add more detail to the cream egg too, as it sits close to the camera. The bunny needs a pass on its gold foil. I need to bring in some of the colours of the surrounding environment to make it feel like it's reflecting the surrounding objects. I'm going to start with the bunny's head. As you can see, applying the brightest highlights immediately brings this to life and makes it look metallic. Then I'll start painting the folds in different colours as they catch the environment around it. For example, I'm painting in some red here to capture the reflection of the bow. I'm just going to sharpen a few of the key folds here. I'm intensifying the highlight on the chocolate to make it feel slightly more glossy. I'm applying a very thin, transparent wash of burnt sienna onto the chocolate here to make it look a little richer. And in turn, repaint some of the chalkier edge highlights on the chocolate to give it its 3D form. And some tiny flecks of chocolate dust just to add to the realism. Now to make these pink and baby blue ribbons on the sweet pop with another layer of opaque colour and strong, almost pure white highlights. And a little bit of strong rim lighting to the sweet to make it feel super glossy. Next, I'm going to make the bunny's bells super chrome-like by having ultra-high HDR light contrast with some red reflection from the bow so it sits nicely in the environment. Next, I'm going to add the stitching to the bunny's bow, adding highlights where the light catches the ridges. Now to rough out the bunny's gold body. It's not a simple case of just using yellow paint, and instead is a complex pattern of multiple colours and structural contrast. I'm going to loosely paint it with a tapered paintbrush and control the smoothing afterwards. Next, I'm going to do a bit more colour and contrast work to the shiny foil eggs in the background. The key here is to not overwork the ones further back so that they appear further away and out of focus. Now a pass on the cream egg. Again, it's not simply a case of using brown paint. I need to bring in colours from the rest of the painting to capture the light reflections to help it sit naturally. Now I need to make the orange goo even more orange and shinier. Finally, some finishing touches, starting with some more highlights on the bow. And some very limited use of pure white to capture where light is hitting the hardest. Okay, now for the grand finale, and the bit I'm most nervous about, the logo on the bunny's ass. I get one shot at this, otherwise I have to repaint, so no pressure. And disaster averted, this seems to look okay. Right, so I'm about done. Time to sign this one off. And here we have the finished painting.
Okay, so that concludes today's video. I hope you all found this insightful, and of course, I hope you all like the painting too. I'm going to be going out and getting some fresh air, but first, now that his artistic purposes are over with, I'm going to be tucking into this. So until next time, take care and happy Easter holidays.